What do you think it is that makes me a 1 handicap? Is it longer distance? Is it hitting long irons? Is it being able to chip and putt better? What do you think? I'm going to show you 5 things that make me a 1 handicap. The first thing that makes me a 1 handicap is being able to put my bad clubs away. If I'm having a bad tee day with the driver, with the 3-wood, it goes back in the bag. Then we dial it down to more go-to clubs. We start with a 5-wood, 7-wood, 4-iron, down to 6-iron. If I can't get a 6-iron in play, that's a bad day and I'm not going to play well that day. So on this hole, I take the 4-iron out because I know it's not going to reach that bunker. I know it's not going to shape too much left and right, and I'm going to be in play, which is the number one thing. Now, to be able to do what works, we just go back to basics. We go back to things we know that we can lean on. And those are the shots that you build in the backbone of your bag when you're becoming a better player. These are shots that I picked up along the way. Now, I have wind into me. I'm feeling a bit low energy. I think I had too much soy yesterday. So I'm not going to hit my 9-iron from 157, which I normally would. So I'm going to hit my 8-iron. But I know that if I hit a full 8-iron, it just has a chance of going a bit too far. So I'm just going to hit this kind of like knockdown shot that I learned in Scotland, and I know it works. It's something I can lean on. I go back to basics when I'm just a little unsure. Part of going back to basics, sometimes I'm going to leave myself longer approaches into the greens, which means I'm going to miss the green sometimes. But if I miss the green in the correct place, I have an easy chip. But then if I have an easy chip, I need to use a back to basics easy chipping technique, which for me is the toe down chip. Sometimes I get a little too fancy and maybe I get a bit handsy, or maybe try and feel the turf, and if I don't have that feel at that moment, that means that I'm not going to hit a great chip. So I go back to basics with toe down chipping. It's the simplest way. You put your club down flat, you pick the handle up, you get into a putting stance, use a putting grip and a putting stroke. You have to be nice and aggressive and try hit the ball off the toe of the club. Now that's going to be a good result for me because I'm not that confidential. But there's an entire series in Scotland where I played 1 handicap golf, going back to basic, keeping the ball as low to the ground as possible, putting a lot of the time. And putting is almost always my preferred option. These are the 2 ways I go back to basics for chipping, ego free. The number one thing that makes me a 1 handicap is I know how to score. I avoid hitting stupid shots. I don't go chasing pins, I don't go chasing birdies, and I don't chase distance. I chase position, position, position. When you combine position chasing with ego dropping, you get great scores. So I'll show you 2 ways I would play this hole. If I'm not feeling confidential, I accept that it's a 3-shot hole. My ego stops me from trying to chase it in 2 shots. And I know that a good score on this hole is a par and a great score is a birdie. But I do expect a par. We hit a 7-wood in play, and then from there we're going to take 2 more shots to get it on the green. When I'm feeling good, I'll hit the driver. Now the driver is a good scoring club if you're having a great time with it. If you're not having a good time with it, I put this back in the bag. Hitting both those shots, I know majority of the time the score coming out here anyway is going to be a 5. So I don't need to chase anything. I understand how to score that 5. I may have left myself 313 yards to the hole, but that doesn't mean anything to me because I know that if I hit 2 more great shots here, I'm on in 3 and I'm putting for par. This takes a lot of pressure off my game when I don't have to go for par 5s in 2 and feel like a loser if I don't, because you don't have to score. But the big thing I have to remember when I want to score is to avoid hazards. I don't want to go in those bunkers because having an approach shot on a par 5 from a fairway bunker is a no-no. I'm not going to score well from there. From the second shot in a bunker, no problem, setting up a 3rd in the fairway. But I need to have a shot in the clear here for this par 5. So we take a 6-iron from 313. Beautiful shot right there. Of course, best case scenario with the driver is to hit the narrowest part of the fairway. And the tees I play, when I hit a driver, the distance of my driver is going to enter the fairway at the narrowest point, which means the best case scenario is center of the fairway, but the bad scenario is I end up in the rough or blocking myself out from the hole. From here I have 225 yards. Can I hit a 225 yard shot off a hanging lie with a little draw under this tree to a hole that curves with the bunkers with a hook? I don't think so. So the best thing I can do is drop the ego, know what works, hit it over this bunker in front of us, and have that third shot into the green, like a Baus. That's how we score. Okay, Matty Boom Boom, I understand that, but how do we score? Well, I set this up to the distance I like to hit. I don't want to just randomly hit this up there and leave myself a partial pitch shot up the hill. I want to have a nice shot I feel confidential in, and that's about 100 yards. So I'm going to hit a 130 yard shot here, sand wedge on birdie time. 9-iron, little pitch, 120 yards. Now we should have something like a sand wedge or a 48 degree in. Money. I've left myself a wedge with both balls. Now this is the higher plane, higher order of thinking that you attain when you realize that on a par 5 like this, you're rarely going to hit it in 2 shots. So you understand no matter what you hit off the tee, you're going to be having a third shot with a wedge. That's very calming. I don't need to chase anything. I know I'm the man with a wedge in my hand. So we've got 121. We're going to hit the 48 degree. One of my go-to clubs, one of my free throw distances. Absolutely money. Look at me. Look at me. Yay! Now, I don't have a high level of confidentiality. I've dropped that ego a long time ago where I had to come to the course and try score low. Now I follow my process. And by following the process, the score comes. It's not about chasing the score. It's about following the scoring process. I've left myself roughly the same distance here, probably about 5 or 6 yards shorter. So all I do is just hit the same club and accept that I'll just be past the pin on this shot. Easy game. And that's it. We're on in 3, both balls, driver, 7 wood. If I hit 6-iron off the tee, it's the same result, I promise. One of the most eye-opening things ever was to understand how many putts professionals on the PGA Tour make from this distance and from this distance. This is probably about 20 to 24 feet. This one is around 14, 15 feet. They don't make that many. Probably this one in 10. This one, probably 14, 15 feet. 1 out of 6, 1 out of 7. So if you can lower your expectations, that's going to help a lot. But the best thing you can do to lower your score and the art of scoring is to not 3-putt. And the way to not 3-putt is to get the best distance control possible. Now I'm going to hit this putt with under reading. Most people underread their putts. I would normally put this out 2 or 3 holes to the right, but I'm going to put it out just 1 hole to the right and watch it break on the left. But if you have great speed control, it doesn't matter if you miss the line much on your putts. So what that does, when you have good speed control, you can just tap it in. So you want to work on speed control. You can miss your line by up to 2 feet and leave yourself a 2-footer either side of the hole. Take charge of these. And every now and then, a blind squirrel finds an acorn. Now you may watch a video or 2 of mine and think, wow, Matt hits the ball too far, I can't relate. I understand that, but I'm also playing longer tees than you a lot of the time, so you can scale it to that. But the key thing that made me a 1 handicap was not the distance. The distance was a byproduct of better ball striking. Hitting the center of the club face instead of all over the club face, instead of fat, instead of thin. And how did I fix that? This is something I've never revealed. I went to the beach as a 13-year-old and I hit balls off the beach sand. First I was hitting them fat, then I started hitting them thin, then I started striking them nice and crispy. And that's how I started hitting the ball much further. Just a 2-hour session on the beach as a 13-year-old kid. So don't get down, don't get blue. Frankenstein was ugly too. So all you have to do is get that strike better. One of the best things you can do is get a pitching lesson with a pro, 1 hour. That's all it will take. He will teach you the easy part of the swing, the part here, 9 to 3. That's where you strike the ball, get a better contact situation. Now I am able to hit a 7-iron here from 183 because I worked on my ball striking. It's not about distance. Oh man, that could be holding one. Oh man alive. And I promise, it's not a gloat, it's not a boast, it's not a show off. You can go and hit the middle of the club face by hitting a lot of pitch shots, 3/4 shots with a 7-iron or a 9-iron. You go to the beach and you clip the ball off the sand. Get in a fairway bunker practice facility somewhere at a driving range and just start hitting the ball nice and clean and solid. If you can't hit divots and you're scared of hitting divots, what I did to get to be a better player was to find a piece of grass, no ball, and just got practice taking chunks of ground out of the ground. Not on a golf course, somewhere else, with some short grass and just start hacking divots out of the ground. It's going to get you more comfortable hitting divots. Oh man, when would I get a hole in one on camera? There's the pitch mark. What a day. Now with putts like these, I really like to get the line going to where I want that ball to go. I want to simplify my stations sometimes when I'm going back to basics. And I worked on the strike with my putting by putting elastic bands either side of the sweet spot, because I used to hit a lot of my putts on the toe, never having consistent distance control. This is the Water Player Bird Dog putter. You can get them at the QR in the screen right now. And I used to put 2 elastics either side of the sweet spot and move the elastics closer to hit more and more putts in the center. When they got too close that I couldn't hit the center anymore, it meant take them off. And now I hit much better strike on my putts. Everything in golf is about better strike. Now let's see. I may not make this. It's a very subtle break right to left. I'm using the line on the ball to line up my putt to take that variable out. Oh! That was so close. Maybe I just read too much break in, but that's okay. I don't get frustrated as much about score anymore, because I know I have another 20 holes, 30 holes, 60 holes the rest of my life to make up for it. Without a shadow of a doubt, by far the most important thing that made me a 1 handicap was to understand the lie of the golf ball. The ball lies differently everywhere on every shot. I cannot copy paste the distance, take a club based on the distance. Every shot is different, and being able to understand the lie of the ball, the way my club will react to that lie, the way the ball will react to being hit in that lie, and the way the ball will react when it flies and lands is key to being a 1 handicap. Without this knowledge, I could not be a 1 handicap. The best I could be with no knowledge of the lie is probably a 9 or 10 handicap. Now, from the tee, the lie is created. You can do what you like. Sometimes I like to tuft the tee up like that. Sometimes I like to use a tee. And with this 4-iron, it generally helps me to promote a draw, and I get an extra few yards hitting it off a tee, nice and clean. I try not to hit too down on it with my long iron, but I understand how the flight comes. Now that's always going to just give me a little bit more distance, and I know that sometimes it turns over right to left, and that's what I plan for, because I know how different it is to just hitting it off the deck where it may fade a little bit. Knowing the lie of the ball also prevents you hitting the ball into a lie you don't want to play. So I don't want to go in that rough, so I don't take any kind of wood or anything that's going to put me off the dispersion pattern I want. I hit my 4-iron into the fairway, and I know that this lie, because it's been mown this way, makes it easier for the club to slide through the turf. If I go play here, it catches and makes an explosive divot. Ball goes higher, less spin. Down the grain, I get a little bit more clippy, slidey action, and that helps me to hit a better distance control. I don't want to go in the bunker, because then I have to club up 1 because the sand takes some distance off, and then I don't want to go in this rough because there's no controlling the spin and there's no controlling how much grass between the ball and the club face. So that's why I prevent getting myself into tricky situations. Now we have 125, perfect distance for my 48. Wow, in. Set the shots up to the lies that you like, and then the game gets easier when you know how it reacts from that lie. But when you stymie yourself by putting in a bad lie, now you have to factor in more variables. From the fairway, money. Those are the 5 things that made me a 1 handicap in Scotland. If you want to see 10 things that make scratch golfers the best golfers on the planet, check this video out for more info on elite level thinking.